Some buildings are abandoned because everyone leaves them behind. Others are abandoned because something inside refuses to leave. 3 nights after escaping Ravenwood, Daniel Carter received an unmarked package. It waited outside his apartment, beneath a flickering hallway light. The wrapping was damp. Although the corridor floor was completely dry, inside lay an old cassette and a folded architectural blueprint. The blueprint belonged to Blackridge Towers on the city's northern edge. Official records described Blackridge as a 12-story residential building, yet the drawing showed another level hidden between 12 and 14. That impossible floor had been circled repeatedly in faded red ink. Unit 1308 had been underlined so deeply that the paper had torn. Daniel placed the cassette inside an old recorder on his desk. Static filled the room before a frightened male voice emerged. The speaker identified himself as Leon Mercer, a former elevator technician. Leon claimed Blackridge had concealed 7 disappearances during a winter blackout. Every victim had entered the elevator shortly after midnight. Leon believed the missing residents had reached a floor erased from records. His final warning concerned voices that imitated people the listener loved. The recording ended abruptly, beneath the sound of metal doors closing. Daniel replayed the final seconds until another detail became audible. A child was counting backwards somewhere behind Leon's trembling voice. The counting stopped at 13, followed by a quiet knock. Before sunrise, Daniel searched municipal archives for Blackridge Towers. Construction documents jumped directly from the 12th floor to the roof. However, elevator maintenance invoices listed cables longer than the building required. An old newspaper mentioned 7 residents lost during the blackout. Daniel found one surviving photograph of Leon beside the original control panel. Behind him, a dark button marked 13 glowed faintly. By late afternoon, Daniel was driving toward the abandoned tower. Blackridge rose above, shuttered shops like a concrete gravestone. A demolition notice warned that the structure would fall within days. Daniel entered through a gap beneath the chained front doors. The lobby smelled of wet plaster, cold metal, and old smoke. Dust covered everything except a narrow path toward the elevator. An elderly caretaker stepped from the shadows behind the reception desk. Her name was Nora Vance, and she claimed the building remained occupied. Nora recognized Leon's blueprint before Daniel unfolded it completely. Her fear deepened when she noticed the circle around Unit 1308. She explained that her teenage son vanished during the 1986 blackout. Nora had remained nearby because she believed he might someday return. She denied the existence of a 13th floor with practiced certainty. Then she admitted the elevator occasionally remembered what the city erased. In the control room, Daniel discovered maintenance logs covered in red lines. Every deleted entry explained stop at exactly 12:13 after midnight. The same entries described cold air, distant music, and familiar voices. Nora urged Daniel to leave before darkness reached the upper windows. Instead, he prepared his camera, recorder, flashlight, and emergency rope. Night settled over Blackridge while the building groaned around him. At midnight, the lobby lights dimmed without losing power. 13 minutes later, a new button appeared on the elevator panel. Daniel pressed it before fear could change his decision. The doors opened onto a cabin smelling faintly of perfume and smoke. The elevator climbed past 12 while every display number disappeared. For several seconds, the cabin seemed suspended inside absolute silence. Then the doors opened onto a hallway, glowing with weak amber light. The corridor stretched farther than the width of Blackridge allowed. Apartment doors lined both sides beneath polished brass number plates. Somewhere ahead, an old radio played a song from another decade. A child laughed behind one door before becoming suddenly silent. Daniel stepped into the corridor, and the elevator closed immediately. The call button beside him crumbled when he touched it. He passed a dining room where untouched food still released steam. Another apartment contained packed suitcases and a calendar from December 1986. Every date after the blackout had been violently scratched away. Framed portraits filled the corridor, each showing a missing Blackridge resident. Daniel's reflection appeared faintly beside every photographed face. The reflections moved a fraction later than Daniel himself. At the center of the floor, Unit 1308 waited with its door open. Inside stood shelves filled with wallets, watches, keys, and family photographs. An old tape machine rested beside a thick maintenance ledger. Leon's recorded testimony resumed when Daniel entered the room. The hidden floor had formed during the blackout from fear and grief. City officials sealed its access, removed records, and altered the blueprints. Yet the building preserved the suffering trapped inside its walls. Leon believed the floor survived by offering visitors their deepest unfinished desire. Those who accepted the illusion slowly disappeared from the world above. Daniel opened the ledger and found names spanning 4 decades. The final entry already contained Daniel Carter's name beside Unit 1308. A second doorway opened behind him without making any sound. Beyond it waited Daniel's own office, exactly as he remembered it. Every unsolved case covered the walls in perfect chronological order. A folder labeled Final Answers rested beneath his glowing desk lamp. The room promised certainty about every disappearance Daniel had failed to explain. Photographs inside the folder showed him working there for many years. Each image made him older, thinner, and increasingly difficult to recognize. The final photograph showed an empty chair and a recorder still running. Daniel understood that the floor trapped people through completion, not violence. He closed the folder and stepped backward into the corridor. Every apartment door now stood open beneath rapidly flickering lights. Figures watched from the rooms wearing faces Daniel almost recognized. Nora appeared ahead, holding the hand of her missing teenage son. Her expression carried the exhausted relief of someone ending a lifelong search. The boy looked unchanged from the photograph taken 40 years earlier. His shadow stretched toward Daniel, while the hallway lights died. Daniel warned Nora through gestures, but she followed the boy deeper inside. The corridor lengthened, twisted, and rearranged every numbered doorway. Daniel unfolded the blueprint as its red lines began moving. A service staircase appeared behind Unit 1308 where no door had existed. He forced through the apartment while familiar voices called from every wall. The hidden stairwell climbed steeply through concrete, cables, and freezing air. Something followed below, copying Daniel's footsteps half a second late. At the rooftop hatch, he drove his shoulder against the rusted lock. Dawn wind struck him. As the hatch opened above Blackridge, a line of frozen residents waited silently beneath the fading moon. One woman offered Daniel a ring of keys from the original elevator. The residents seemed less threatening than the darkness rising behind them. Daniel descended the exterior fire ladder as shadows flooded the roof. Several floors below, every waiting resident vanished at the same moment. He escaped through a broken 11th floor window and reached the lobby. Nora's desk was empty beneath dust that looked decades old. Outside, demolition crews claimed Blackridge had been sealed for 3 weeks. Daniel watched machines tear open walls he had crossed minutes earlier. The blueprint in his satchel no longer contained the hidden floor. Only a handwritten message remained, thanking him for remembering them. At home, Daniel reviewed photographs showing empty corridors and vacant rooms. The final image showed Daniel smiling from inside Unit 1308. A brass key marked 13 appeared inside his locked camera bag. Just before dawn, his apartment elevator stopped outside his floor. The hallway panel displayed a number his building had never possessed. From behind the closed doors, Daniel heard himself quietly counting backward. Ravenwood vanished from every map 53 years ago. But on full moon nights, drivers still report seeing its lights. Police call those stories exhaustion, fog, and overactive imagination. The families of the missing know better. Daniel Carter had built his career disproving local legends. He believed fear survived only where facts had failed. Ravenwood seemed perfect for his next investigation. One article, one night, and one forgotten village. He left before sunset with cameras, batteries, and maps. By midnight, the mountain road had swallowed every radio signal. His GPS froze, then erased the road behind him. The temperature dropped, although the heater kept running. Trees pressed closer to the asphalt with every mile. Then the forest became completely silent. No insects, no wind, and no distant animals. Daniel heard only the engine and his own breathing. A weathered wooden sign emerged through the fog. Its faded lettering pointed toward Ravenwood. Fresh tire tracks ended beneath the sign. Beyond it, an unmarked road descended between black pines. Daniel should have turned around. Instead, he switched on his camera and drove forward. The fog closed around his SUV like a wall. His headlights illuminated only a few meters of broken road. Something tall crossed ahead without touching the ground. Daniel braked hard enough to throw his bag forward. The road was empty when the vehicle stopped. He stepped outside with a flashlight and recording camera. The cold air felt thick enough to breathe. A whisper moved between the trees behind him. At first, it sounded like wind through dead leaves. Then it clearly spoke his name. Daniel turned, but the forest remained empty. The voice came again from farther down the road. Warm lights flickered beyond the fog. Ravenwood Village waited beneath a pale full moon. Every wooden house looked abandoned and strangely intact. Smoke rose from chimneys that had not burned in decades. Golden light-filled windows, yet no silhouettes moved inside. Daniel parked beside a dry stone fountain. The village clock read exactly 11:47. His wristwatch stopped at the same minute. His phone died despite showing a full battery. Even his camera display briefly showed tomorrow's date. A front door creaked open across the square. No wind moved the trees or hanging signs. Daniel called out and received no answer. Wet footprints appeared on the porch one by one. They stopped at the open doorway. A child's humming drifted from inside the house. Daniel raised his flashlight and entered. Dust covered the furniture like grey snow. A narrow, clean path crossed the dusty floor. Fresh footprints continued toward a dark staircase. A family photograph rested above the fireplace. Every adult face had been violently scratched away. Only a smiling little girl remained untouched. Her dark eyes looked disturbingly familiar. Daniel photographed the frame for evidence. Upstairs, a tiny music box began playing. The melody was slow, uneven, and almost recognizable. Daniel followed it toward the second floor. Each stair creaked after his foot had already lifted. His breath turned white in the freezing hallway. The music stopped as he reached the landing. A small bedroom door stood open at the end. Inside, a rocking chair moved by itself. A faded red dress lay neatly across the bed. A girl's voice whispered that he was late. Daniel spun around, but the hallway was empty. When he looked back, the chair had stopped. The family photograph now lay on the bedroom floor. A new figure had appeared beside the little girl. It was Daniel, wearing the same clothes he wore tonight. The photograph's date was 1973. His camera suddenly displayed dozens of unfamiliar images. Each image showed Daniel walking deeper into Ravenwood. The final image showed someone standing behind him. A cold breath touched the back of his neck. He turned slowly and found no one. Childish laughter echoed downstairs, then ended abruptly. Daniel hurried back toward the staircase. Every photograph along the walls had changed. The scratched faces were now staring directly at him. Their empty eyes followed him through the house. Outside, the church bell rang once. The sound rolled across Ravenwood like a warning. Daniel ran through the square toward the old church. Its enormous wooden doors were already open. Hundreds of candles burned inside without producing warmth. No priest, worshipper, or living person was present. An old leather journal waited upon the altar. Its final pages described Daniel's arrival word for word. The ink remained wet beneath his trembling fingers. One final sentence slowly appeared across the page. It warned the village not to let him leave. Heavy footsteps began pounding beneath the stone floor. The altar shifted, revealing a narrow trapdoor. Whispers below repeated Daniel's name in many voices. He descended because the church doors slammed behind him. The tunnel walls were covered with wet handprints. Some were adult-sized, while others belonged to children. At the tunnel's end stood a tall antique mirror. Daniel's reflection remained still when he approached. Then the reflection smiled before Daniel did. It lifted one hand against the inside of the glass. Cracks spread outward without making any sound. The reflection stepped through and became solid. It looked exactly like Daniel, except for its eyes. Those eyes belonged to the girl in the photograph. Daniel ran as the tunnel filled with rising fog. Behind him, his double whispered that it was finally free. He burst from the church moments before dawn. Ravenwood began folding into the fog behind him. Houses vanished silently, one window at a time. The church collapsed without touching the ground. Daniel reached the road as sunlight crossed the mountains. When he turned, the village had completely disappeared. Weeks later, Daniel's photograph appeared on a missing person poster. That night, Ravenwood's windows glowed again, and Daniel stood inside.